Okay, so it's good morning from Oslo and time to get ourselves onto the metro for a brief bit of exploring. And the first job today was to grab a day pass for all public transport in Oslo, which comes in at 111 Norwegian kroner, or £9.50, and join a Line 5 service to Sognsvann. The metros themselves are pretty spacious, and those of us used to the likes of London and New York for our commutes would probably be rather surprised at the rather laid-back, leafy nature of the metro here in Oslo. Granted, this was a Sunday morning, but it was a pretty pleasant experience. Soon enough though, we've arrived into Sognsvann, which is a lake around 3 kilometres in circumference, just in the Greenbelt area of Oslo. Even at 9 AM on a Sunday, there were plenty of folk coming out for walks, jogs and everything in between, and even though I didn't embark on that massive walk around the whole thing, it was undeniably a very beautiful place just to come and admire. For me though, it was time to hop back aboard another Porsche designed metro into the city to join line number 1 to Frognerseteren. While indeed Frognerseteren is gorgeous and there's a plethora of paths for you to wander on as well as an apparently wonderful restaurant, I was taking the minimal walking option. So for me it was time to head back on the metro, down back towards the city, and to jump off at a station called Skogen, which had caught my eye on the way up, and you'll see why. Of note, make sure that you're sat on the left-hand side of the metro heading up to Frognerseteren and the right-hand side heading back down into Oslo for the best views. How's this for a view from the platform? I would argue that this is one of the most beautiful views from a metro station anywhere in the world. It was soon time for the main event though, the boats, and soon after a metro back into the city and a spot of lunch at Burger King, I was in the queue at Aker Brygge. There's a plethora of ferries in Oslo, though the main routes are routes 1 to 4 serving the different islands. Of note, Line 1 only runs in the mornings and evenings and serves every island, whereas during the bulk of the day, different lines serve different islands, and you can usually change in Hovedøya to get between them. Of note too, Langøyene is closed during 2020 while works are done on the island, and of course all these lines are included in your £9.50 day ticket. The weather was just starting to pick up and get very nice indeed as I headed out onto the fjord towards my first stop of the day, Gressholm. Between the years 1927 and 1939, the main airport for Oslo was actually situated on Gressholmen, although it was only for seaplanes. These days though, the old airport site is used for boat storage and maintenance, and most people flock to Gressholmen for its beaches and the chance to chill out away from the hustle and bustle of Oslo. This was one of the warmest ferry journeys I'd ever had, being more familiar with the bracing nature of the Shield ferry back home. Suffice to say I wasn't dressed for the hills and sudden heat at all, with a hoodie jacket being just about the worst thing I could have put on. Indeed, Gressholmen was very busy once I made it to the beaches and it was a little more difficult to film, so you'll have to settle for some still shots of the views. That said, it was a great place to sit down, chill out, and have my lunch away from the bustle of central Oslo. I was next headed back over towards Hovedøya so that I could join another route, and as you can see, the fjord, in addition to having a load of ferries, is used a great deal by locals and their speedboats and yachts. The main attraction of Hovedøya, other than its hodgepodge of beaches around its edges, is the ruins of the abbey. It was founded by monks from Kirkstead Abbey in Lincolnshire, and was actually one of the main economical forces when it was built in 1147. However, it was burned down and looted in 1532 due to the apparently irritating political involvements. More recently, Hovedøya was actually used as a fortress in the Napoleonic Wars, though these days it is a little more sedate, with the only boats around being those linking islands. Then it was time to head to Lindøya, with a brief stop in Bleikøya, just as the temperature started to top 30 degrees and I was questioning my fashion choices even more. Lindøya has two terminals, Lindøya Øst, where I am currently, as well as Lindøya Vest, which I'll be making my way towards, which sends boats towards Nakholmen, as well as back towards Hovedøya and Aker. Lindøya also has an aviation-related past, with the airport of the first Norwegian airline DNL being located here in 1920, for seaplanes towards Stavanger and Haugesund, although it only lasted until autumn of the same year, due to the economic climate not being quite right at the time. When the seaplanes started again in 1927, as previously mentioned, they started in Gresholmen instead. In the present day, Lindøya is home to 289 holiday cabins as well as other private residences, and it serves primarily as a getaway for Norwegians. It's easy to see why though, as it has its equal share of beautiful walking routes and stunning little beaches to admire. Lindøya though was where my adventure for today was ending, as I joined the boat at Lindøya Vest for the journey back to Aker. The next morning, it was time to take the train.